Here we go, Lou. This is my stat. 3 penalties for 15 yards.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about.
You knew what I was getting ready to say. And that and the time of possession. Again, they're over 30. They're 33 minutes again this week with the ball. But one of the most impressive things about these stats that we did not read, they average 5.3 yards per play.
100%. Welcome to Six Rings and Counting. I'm your host, Corey Idle, and joining me as always, my man, Mr. Doctor. Not my lover, but I heard he's a lover, very tender, all sorts of other great things to describe this man, Mr. Lou Willard. Shoot. Lou, how we living?
You know what? I'm living large, baby, living large.
There you go.
Went to the game, had a great time at the game, except it was ooh-wee hot.
I heard... Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but I heard that Joey Bosa was going to play that game and then heard you might play that game and we're going to be in the stadium. And so he just said, I ain't playing.
I mean, can you blame me?
No.
I mean, because I'll tell you, I got one good play in me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's running from the sideline to the field to sub back out.
Like, what was that? Greenlaw at the Super Bowl? Couldn't even get off the damn sideline.
Yeah, ran in the game and got hurt.
We are not here to talk about that. We are here to talk about this electrifying offense of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Where did this come from? Let's run through these stats right quick. Total yards, 346 compared to the Chargers, 168. When your offense plays like this and your defense is playing like they have been, this is the result, friends. 232 passing yards, 114 rushing yards, 20 first downs, 64% efficiency on third down, on 65 total plays, allowed 2 sacks, 3 punts. Justin Fields with the only turnover, 1 interception, his first on the season. Here we go, Lou. This is my stat. 3 penalties for 15 yards.
There you go.
That's what I'm talking about.
You knew what I was getting ready to say. And that and the time of possession. Again, they're over 30. They're 33 minutes again this week with the ball. But one of the most impressive things about these stats that we did not read, they average 5.3 yards per play.
100%.
And they still went over 50% for third downs or at 50% for third downs. And if you can pull that off with that time of possession, man, you're going to win a lot of football games. I'm not worried about his interception. It was a batted ball, all that stuff. Besides that, he's going to turn the ball over. I was happy to see, first off, Arthur Smith, thanks for being a listener of the show. Like, he clearly listens to the show because we went on and opened up that offense a little bit. And that's going to have to keep progressing as the year goes on because it's only going to get tougher and tougher as teams get more and more film on you. You're just not going to line up and keep running over top of everybody. That's just not going to happen. You know, but I told you, Dobbins wasn't getting 60.
He called it.
Put him on lock.
Dead spot. Also, for those keeping score at home, Lou also called the score minus the defensive touchdown, which is a coin toss anyway, if you can get one of those or not. So, if you're wondering where to get your Steelers news from and where to get the best insight from, it's right here, kids. This is your spot. And it's not because of me. It's because of the man sitting next to me.
I wouldn't go that far. It's a combination of the two. But I did have to
pretty much I'm a trophy host.
And you know that's right. If they put that defensive touchdown on the board, 100%. You know, I said, well, if they don't, this is the score we're looking at, and it's right there. The hold up only 168 yards was crazy. But, you know, when I go, I sit in the end zone. I love sitting in the end zone so I could see the whole 22. And you can see the running lanes, and there was nothing to charge. They hand that ball off. There was no gap. They had them shut down. So, and you know, it's going to be interesting because this is the 4th week in a row coming up here at Indy. You're facing the same style of team that you faced the first 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And Indy's offense is no different than Atlanta's. They're more different than Denver's because they're just more dynamic. but they're no different than the Chargers.
No,
And
it's the same general principle.
Same general principle, except they have a quarterback, a very mobile quarterback who'd rather run than throw.
And guess who
So
our defense practices against every week?
And that's, and that being said, so do they. They see the same style of quarterback in Justin every day in practice. So it's a great matchup. And again, this is one of those games that's going to come down to coaching, and we have the better coach.
100%.
We have the better coach who'll scheme it up. And I look for Pittsburgh in Indy. It's going to be basically a home game for the Steelers. I mean,
well, I need you to slow your roll here for a minute, because we're 5 minutes into the show and you're getting deep into Colts, and we still got to talk about this win, dog. We got news and notes here for days, so let's pump the brakes. Right. Slow that pony down. Whoa, Colt. Whoa. We got to deal with this real quick. Justin Fields, 25 for 32, 245 passing yards, 1 TD, the 1 interception I already said. Again, not a big deal. It wasn't an Anthony Richardson type interception where he literally threw it right to the dude.
Right to the guy, yeah.
Rushing, 18 for 70 for Najee, 4 for 33 for Cordarrelle. Look for him to probably be our starter this week. 6 for 6 for Fields with a touchdown. That was nice to see as well, the rushing touchdown. Mm-hmm. And 3 for 5 for Warren. I don't think Warren's 100% there yet, even if he maybe re-aggravated that injury he had.
Yeah, well, now it's a knee. It's not even his hamstring. He's getting an MRI today. It's probably getting it as we're recording this show. So I don't look for him to play at all this week. Najee probably play. He was in the sling after the game, but he'll probably play. But I look to see a nice little dose of 15 carries out of Cordero Patterson this week. And I'm not worried about it at all. He's played running back. I mean, when you look at running back depth in the league, Pittsburgh has arguably the best depth, because they got 3 guys that can do it.
Well, that's it. And
now look, anybody else get hurt. Now you coming back to the land of everybody else where you just piecemealing a guy together off the practice squad, or trying to dig up one of these guys like a Kareem Hunt or somebody like the Chiefs went and signed. You don't want to be in that position, but I look for Cordero to have to step up big this week. But being able to move the ball on the ground like that is really keeping our defense fresh. And we talked about it on the show last week. As long as we can win the time of possession, that defense is fresh, and these are the results that you're going to keep getting.
That's it. The only thing we've been asking for out of this offense so far was to open up the passing game, and they did. Calvin Austin III. Welcome to Pittsburgh. Yet another thing Lou Willard has predicted correctly. 4 catches, 95 yards, 1 touchdown, and damn, did he look fast.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. People can say, well, you've been saying it all year. Luckily, it happened in the 3rd game and not the 8th game, because then I'd have been like, well, it's about time. I've been saying it all year. It's about time. But I'm telling you, you get that young man going. He's healthy now, and we can get that spark going, and away he goes. Once we let Justin throw that ball, and he put a pretty ball on him too. So, I mean, the sky's the limit for what this offense has the potential to do. I know we got some injuries, but the line is blocking really well. Losing Troy for the year hurts. I mean, anybody loses starting lineman hurts. But again, nobody's crying for Pittsburgh. Everybody's lost. Like hell, the Chargers lost 3 linemen Sunday.
Oh yeah,
they lost their all-star tackle, Joe Alt. He's out. Hopefully not for the year for their sake, but they lost him and 2 other guys. And Pittsburgh's lost, Troy. But we got some wiggle room. This is a chance for Broderick to step his game back up and do what he's supposed to be doing. And then we still have Spencer Anderson that we can plug and play, because he filled in very well at guard when Suamala was out.
Well, that's the difference, I think, between a team like the Steelers and a team like, let's say, Miami, or these close to the fringe teams, right? That everybody every year says they got a shot, but they don't, because injuries happen every single game, every single week, every single year. It doesn't matter. They happen. So what really makes a team different, like Pittsburgh, from a team like Miami, is we got starters backing up our starters. Exactly. These guys can be starting on a lot of other teams right now, and there are backups. So it's going to be a plug-and-play situation.
And coming into the year, what was the 2 biggest concerns for Pittsburgh? It was the offensive line and the defensive backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Well, both are outplaying above expectation, and it's not even close.
No.
I mean, the offensive line, the way we're running the ball, and you're not running it on bad defenses. Denver just showed you they went down to Tampa Bay and shut the Buccaneers down, completely down. And the Buccaneers have been putting up points on everybody. You know, Atlanta just went to Philly and won.
Yep.
Yes. So you didn't beat bad teams. We said on this show that Atlanta will win 9 or 10 games, and they go turn right around and win that game. You know, Denver was a surprise, but we knew the defense would travel, but I didn't expect them to shut the Buccaneers down to 7 points. But nonetheless, when you have this type of teams, your positions of concern play over their expectation, you get this. The starting wide receivers again this week for the Chargers combined for 5 catches and 88 yards. These cornerbacks, this Elliott and Jackson joining JPJ and those two safeties, man, this is turning out to be something serious to watch.
I'm telling you right now, if you are a Pittsburgh fan and you are like me and you like buying defensive players' jerseys, Elliott is the dude. He has been balling out 3 straight games. I love the way he led the team in tackles, tied with Patrick Queen. Let's go.
Yeah,
4 tackles, 4 assists for Queen. Elliott had 4 tackles, 1 assist. That's great. This is what you want to see out of this defense is these new guys stepping up week by week by week, just getting more comfortable and playing football.
Yeah, and what I liked about Queen more so this week than and maybe it's because I was in the stadium so you can see better than you can on TV. He was around that football. He didn't always get to tackle, but he was around that football. He got some tackles he didn't get credit for by the way he played. He disrupted the play, somebody else get to tackle. So you don't see it on the stat sheet, but he was where he needed to be. He played a hell of a football game.
Yeah, no, I love it. When the offense starts looking a little bit more like our defense, and just how solid they are, how competent they are, how together they are in what they are trying to do, dude.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck with this team, especially when you got a coach like Mike Tomlin heading them up.
Yeah,
that's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, because if we keep winning this time of possession, that defense stays fresh, man. And then that's less time, less opportunity they have to get injured too. Because a lot of those injuries come because of fatigue.
Well,
get a little gas, get a little out of position, bam, you get hurt.
And
so if we could keep playing this style of ball, because you got to start fast. So like we were talking, I was talking to some people at the game about these last 8 games. I know I don't want to get too far in front of my skis here, but you got to position yourself through the first 9 games to be 7-2 or 8-1 with that brutal 8-game stretch coming at the end of the year.
Have to be.
The only thing that helps that stretch is the Bengals look so bad and Cleveland looks so bad, and those are 4 of the games. But
and I don't think Baltimore knows who they are.
But
to be completely honest,
but they're still Baltimore, and they're going to be a hard out.
Oh, of course.
They're going to be a hard out, and they'll be good.
Baltimore's lost right now with identity, but that's a different show. You segued us perfectly into the injuries real quick. As we said, after the game, Najee Harris was in a sling. Questionable for next week. Fantasy-wise, I don't know. Pay attention. Wait for that injury report to come out.
Yeah, and you want to look Friday. People want to look tomorrow. That's the first practice. You're going to get nothing on Wednesday.
That's it. Alex Highsmith injured again. Same kind of injury, if I'm correct, Cam Hayward had last year.
Yeah, that groin. I believe his is a groin.
Which could be a problem, but as you alluded to, I think Herbig just
came and took the game over.
That's a man. And, of course, the big one, our first-round draft pick, Troy Fontenot, out for the season. Unfortunately, that's just
dislocated knee.
That's just terrible. He'll be back though, and again, as Lou said, the way this team is designed, the way Omar set this team up, the way Mike has this team set up, this is what we planned for. Somebody falls down, next man up. Do your job.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin will say it today at the presser. We got to record on a different day because outside circumstances. So we're recording this prior to his presser. But nonetheless, he's going to say one man's misfortune is another man's opportunity. I guarantee you, if you listen to his presser today, you will hear that exact same sentence mentioned. Because nobody's feeling sorry for the Steelers.
No.
Nobody's feeling sorry for the Browns, and they got a ton of injuries up front. They played DeJuan Jones in the second half of their game because they ran out of linemen. So he had to go out there his knee was hurt, and he had to go out there and play. They ran out of linemen.
They're a mess.
Nobody's feeling sorry for anybody in this league. It is about perseverance and finding a way to score one more point than your opponent each week.
Totally agree. And now, Lou, I will unleash the beast. Week 4 against the 1-2 Indianapolis Colts. I believe we are traveling to Indianapolis, if I'm not mistaken. Yep,
it's in the dome.
Oh boy, did Indy's a little bit of a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team. Sometimes they look really sharp, and sometimes they look awful.
That's because they have an erratic quarterback. What are you going to get? The biggest thing Pittsburgh has to do this week, you could go to stop the run. Well, I mean, hell, that's every team against every other team every week. You got to stop the run or you can forget it. But they have to have a more controlled pass rush and not let him leak out because he wants to run the ball. They only threw the ball 20 times last week. What is it with this 20 number? These teams don't want these guys throwing the ball any more than they have to. And Anthony Richardson doesn't really have a middle game. He's either throwing it deep or he's checking it down.
100%.
He didn't throw a lot of 12 to 15-yard passes. Everything's deep or check down. So, and he's so erratic. I mean, if we scheme him up right, I can look for him to throw 3 picks this week, the way them DBs are playing, because this is another team that we get lucky enough to catch schedule-wise. They don't have a receiver that scares you. Michael Pittman is really good, but not with this quarterback. He did all his work with Gardner Minshew. Remember the 4 games that Richardson played last year before he got hurt? Pittman wasn't doing anything. He blew up when Minshew came in, who was now quarterback in the Raiders. Exactly. So now he's back to Richardson, and he's back to not doing anything. I mean, he had 4 catches for 36 yards last week. That ain't going to get it. That's not going to get it done. But it's not him. It's the quarterback. He wants to be a running back. 8 carries, 24 yards. And then he doesn't want to slide. Man, you're going to have to slide. You got knocked out last year for the same reason. And I look for Pittsburgh to pressure him in the throws. But when they do pressure, it has to be controlled pressure. Because if you miss him, he's out the gate. Because he can run. There is no denying his ability as a runner. But they have to have controlled runs and keep him in the pocket.
Do you see a situation where Pittsburgh is using, just because their front 4 has been so dominant on their own, where we're doing a lot of bluffs, where we're setting up to blitz and then they just back all the way up into a deeper zone? Or do you think we're just going to, it's that containment pressure? Just keep him in the pocket, make Richardson make the throws, and let our DBs make the play.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm coaching, I want to see what we can do with the 4-man rush, which we have to play through the ball, which that means you got to play through Jonathan Taylor on your way to the quarterback. Because you can't forget about him, because food break off and you have 175 yards on you. He had 110, 2 touchdowns on 23 carries last week against a solid, very solid Chicago Bear defense. A very solid Chicago Bear defense. So you have to keep him contained. You 100%. Have to play through the ball. Play through Jonathan Taylor to the quarterback. And if you can do that with your 4-man rush, I'd rather Richardson sit back there and throw the ball than take off running. Because if he throw it, he's going to throw you some too.
100%. 100%.
So if we can keep him in that shell, because we have linebackers, he can run. But if we have Wilson out there and Patrick Queen, they can run enough to keep him under control to get him on the ground. And they're big enough to get him on the ground because he's a big kid. He's a big kid. So you don't want your nickel back trying to tackle him all game long. He's bigger than your DB.
No, I think you bring up an interesting point with Wilson, because if I remember correctly, Wilson's 40 time was out of this world.
That's blazing.
That kid is fast. So yeah. I would almost say this would be the game for Wilson to start to come out of his shell a little bit as a rookie and really just shadow Anthony Richardson and put him on lock.
Yeah, because you can play the too high shell, keep that's what everybody's going to. That's the ridiculous comment that Mel Kiper made. They should ban the too high shell. Man, get the hell out of here. Learn how to coach against it. Play too high shell. When I played, people were still scoring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, granted, leather helmets, but people were still scoring. You could score on a too high shell. You just have to have a quarterback that's disciplined enough to take the throws that Anthony Richardson usually doesn't take, which are 12 to 15 yards down the field.
That's it.
You know, and that brings those safeties up. They're lining up almost 30 yards off the ball at times, depending on what game you're watching. That is not an exaggeration. They're literally 25 to 30 yards off the ball. You're not running by them. So you got to take that underneath stuff, which he's not shown that he's disciplined enough to do. And I hope he doesn't get disciplined this week.
Let me ask you this. So the Colts are lining up. Josh Downs just came back back from his injury last week. So he and Anthony Richardson, is basically still a rookie. And I'm not making excuses for him or anything like that. This leads to my point.
This is a seventh start, I believe.
Exactly. They don't have that connection, him and Downs. Downs is their main deep threat. Alec Pierce is out there. Michael Pittman's out there. Nobody on this defense or on this offense scares me.
No, nobody scares you.
I couldn't even name their tight end right now if you offered me $1 million. No idea.
Yeah, we're a week away from having to worry about a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. We worry about that next week. I think that's the Dallas game. Mm-hmm. But again, you got to play this game first, and then we'll get to that one. So, but Pittsburgh, I don't think we'll overlook them because you better not, because they're not terrible. I know they're 1-2, but they're not. They're not terrible. They have a good team. They could have very well beat the Texans in that first game. They just they happen to come up a point or two short. So they could easily be a 2-1 football team. What you want to do is force this young man to throw the ball because they do not want to throw it. They do not want to throw it. You have to take away Jonathan Taylor. And in doing so, you have to have that controlled rush to stop that run, to keep him in that pocket and force him to throw. And then I trust our DBs and safeties to take care of the business on the back end.
100%. And if you're wondering why we're not talking about the Steelers offense versus the Colts defense, that should be obvious to you. There's no excuse for our offense not to absolutely roll them. We should be able to do whatever we want in this game.
Even with Cordell Patterson. I mean, I love our listeners. I appreciate them listening, but we need the time of possession, and we need to open it up. Justin Fields is going to have to run it a little bit more this week because we're down to our third running back. So he's going to take some of that pressure off Cordero. I'm sure they'll bring – Najee will play so he can spell Cordero. They'll work it out. It's way too early in the week to tell us Tuesday as we record this. So you're really going to know Friday. That's when you're going to know. If he plays, he'll start, but Cordero is going to get the bulk of the work. But Fields is going to have to keep these possessions going. And we're going to get a couple chunk plays too, because now we back to a couple backup linemen again. So we got to put a little distance in between us. You got to have a 2-score game. You can't be up by 8. You need to be up by at least 9. You know, if they can keep that 9-point, 10-point lead, I'm a lot more comfortable being up 6 or 7.
All right. So give me your prediction for this game. What do you see its final score?
I see Pittsburgh being able to hold them down. Typically, because I'm not a big Richardson fan, I don't believe in. I think he will be good right now, and I think he's still got a long way to go. Again, this is probably like his 7th start, so I can see Pittsburgh turning him over a couple of times, getting some short field, and Pittsburgh to put up 23, 24 points this week and win the game 24-13. It'll be another great showing by the defense, as long as our offense doesn't turn it over deep in our own side of the field to give up points. I think we make them drive, and they're good enough to string together 1 or 2 drives to get them, that touchdown, a couple field goals. But I see 24-13 Steelers.
I can dig that. I think to quote the great Clubber Lang, my prediction for this football game is pain.
It's pain.
For Lou Willard, I'm Corey Idle. This is Six Rings and Counting. We will see you next week.